Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome back to my kind of yarny vlog update, or I guess welcome if this is your first time. In this show today, I'm going to be talking about my knitting progress over the past couple of weeks. In other shows, I'll also have crochet, spinning, yarn dyeing type stuff. I just haven't done any of that in the past couple of weeks, so this week is just going to be knitting. First of all, before we begin, I did a test video. I don't think you can hear my ceiling fan, but if you hear kind of a background whirring noise, I hope it's not too bad. It's hot, and the only way I'm filming this where I have yarn sitting on my lap is if my ceiling fan is on, so hopefully it's not too big of a deal. So, I don't have a whole lot of stuff to say this week. I had mentioned in my last video that I had gotten kind of obsessed about a cross-stitching project, and my knitting was kind of taking a back seat to that. Now, I actually ended up getting more done than I thought I would when I went and looked at the projects I'd worked on, but it's still not a ton. So let's just go ahead and start talking about it. Now, the first project I worked on, probably the one I have the most progress on, try saying project and progress in the same thought, and that's always a problem, is my hue. So anyway, this project is my Hue Shift Afghan. Yeah, I'm working on a blanket in summer. That's really smart, but that's what I'm doing. Like I said, this is the Hue Shift Afghan. It's a project by Karen Dimler Lawrence. I always have to double check the names. I am knitting this one out of Knit Picks Brava Sport. It's a sport weight acrylic yarn, which is what the pattern calls for. However, I am knitting it. Oh, I was showing you the back. Not that it makes that big of a difference on this thing. It's pretty reversible. So here's the front. Anyway, I'm knitting it in the yarn the pattern calls for, but I am knitting it slightly larger because I wanted a little bit of a larger blanket. So I gotta lean way back. It's starting to get a little bit too big to get the whole thing in screen. So I believe that last time I had the bottom two rows done and these two squares done, and I believe that since then I've done all three of these squares. This square is plain silver, this square is silver and dove heather, and this square is silver and white. All of the Brava Sport. And so what I'm working on right now is the first quadrant. It's going to be a 5x5 block with the grays and blacks. I'm doing this with my own color scheme. I'm going to have also a light blue to dark blue section. So there's going to be one quadrant that's just black to white, one quadrant that's just the blues, and then two quadrants that mix the blacks and the whites. So working on that. At a certain point, there's not a lot to say because it's the same project over and over and over again. So, anyway, I like it. It's coming along pretty well. A lot of that progress was thanks to me and my brother watching Iron Man and Black Panther back to back because I needed something that I could sit and knit on, and this is my most mindless project. And I've noticed like I knit faster when the movie gets really exciting, so superhero movies were a good choice for getting my knitting in. So I'm working on that slowly but surely. It's not the best summer project, but it's my most mindless project, so it's good for that. The next project that I worked on is a cardigan sweater. Also a great project for the summer. It's called Casual Friday, designed by Diana Rosensten. I'm also knitting this one in a Knit Picks yarn. This one is Knit Picks Stroll in the Dove Heather colorway. It's I'm showing you the back again. It's a fingering weight merino nylon sock yarn blend, and the Dove Heather is this really nice kind of heathery neutral gray. Now, last time I showed it to you was actually last week, and I had done some of this front section. I've since gotten the front section done through the underarm shaping for the right side, and I need to put on a similar front section for the left side. So as you can see, I've actually got an armhole, and I can actually like put it on now. I mean, it's falling everywhere, and it's on a not long enough needle to actually put it on, but you know, I'm starting to get an actual sweater here. kind of like that is where we're at. And then once I put on the left, oh great, it's stuck in my barrette. Okay, there we go. Once I put on the corresponding left front section, or is it the right front section? I'm holding it upside down, that's why it doesn't look right. Once I put on the corresponding left front section, then I'll actually join these under the underarm and do the body. So, a little bit of progress. I was actually not really thinking I was going to do much more work on this one, but I was so close to getting done with the underarm that I decided to go ahead and get on with that. So that is another project that I've worked on. I feel like we're going super fast because there's only one other thing I've worked on and it's like 6 minutes on my timer. So yeah, this is going to be a real short one. Except this next project I'm going to show you is one you've not seen in a really long time. If at all, a lot of you may not have been around back when I first showed this one, I don't know. This is a lace shawl that's been sitting and not being touched for, I don't know, probably at least 5 months I haven't touched this thing. This is from the, okay, that's the chart, but I want the front picture. This pattern is the Scheherazade beaded lace shawl. It's designed by Anna Victoria, also says bythelilypond.com, so I presume that that's her kind of designer name. And I am doing this variant, which is called the Dunyazad variant. Apparently it's supposed to be like Scheherazade's little sister, although I have never heard that name, even though I've read a lot of the Arabian Nights stories, so I'm curious about that. Anyway, not particularly relevant, but it's the variant that has the stockinette stitch body, so the solid body instead of the whole lacy body. I've just found that as much as knitting the stockinette stitch bodies bores me, I really prefer the look of shawls that have a stockinette stitch body and a lace border. So, oh, and the other thing is this is the Scheherazade beaded lace shawl, and I'm totally not beading it. I should probably talk about the yarn too while I'm at it. This is the Filatura di Crossa Nirvana. It's a lace weight 100% merino yarn in color 23, because that's a really helpful way of labeling your colors. And I have done the stockinette stitch body. I actually did it to the number of repeats that you're supposed to do for the lacy body. So she's got the main Scheherazade shawl with the lacy body and then the Dunyazad shawl with the stockinette stitch body, and she recommends a smaller number of repeats when you're doing the stockinette stitch body to make the whole shawl smaller. But I really wanted the big shawl but with a solid body, so I did more stockinette stitch interior here, but it doesn't look that big. I don't know. I mean, I know the lace is going to grow, but I'm still a little bit worried it's not going to be as big as I wanted it to be. But then again, I don't know how big the person holding the main one up in the picture is, so if that person's really petite and I'm not terribly petite, then that might explain why it looks so much bigger on her than I'm suspecting is going to come out on me. Anyway, I've done this body. I'm working on the lace. I'm currently, I believe, I'm almost at the end of border chart 2. Ooh, that actually stands out fairly nicely. So it kind of reminds me of peacocks at the moment. You know, with the peacocky feather thing growing out. Anyway, this will obviously look better when I get it off of the too short needle and block it. That's the word I was looking for. Man, when it's hot I can't talk. So that is coming along slowly. I think part of the reason I haven't touched this in so long is because there's 44 repeats of the lace in this because of how many repeats of the stockinette I did. It's quite a large shawl, which is what I want. But I keep finding that I'll be knitting along and I'll be thinking, okay, I gotta be at least like 2/3 done with this row. And I'll look and I haven't even reached the halfway point because there's just so many repeats, and it's really kind of frustrating to do that a lot. Plus, it's one of those lace patterns where you knit lace on the front side and then just plain on the back side. And I have mixed feelings about that. On the one hand, I don't love working lace in purl stitches, like purl stitching two together type of stuff, is not my favorite type of way to do it. So that was what you would have to do if you're working lace on the back. I don't love that. But at the same time, when you work nothing but purls, when you work a plain back row, it gets really boring. You have to sit here and purl for 44 times as many stitches are in the repeat, and I don't actually know what that is off the top of my head, but it's a lot. And so I'm just sitting here purling and purling and purling and purling. And so I think between those two things, I've just kind of been a little bit frustrated by it. I was also a little bit disappointed that I wasn't sure how big it was going to come out. I do think it's going to get, it's going to get bigger when I block it, so. I thought briefly about possibly doing it with a larger size needle, but I'm doing it on size, what, 3s? There we go. I'm doing it on Chow Goose size 3s, which is 3.25 millimeters. And I could go bigger, but I don't really want, let me figure out which side's the front. For once, I'm showing you the front. I don't really want my stockinette section to be much lacier than this, especially when it's in the lace and I need those little stockinette sections to appear solid. So I wouldn't really want to go up a needle size. I just kind of picked a needle size that seemed good for the type of fabric I was getting. So I don't know, we'll see. Now that I'm holding it up like this, I feel like it is going to be bigger than I was thinking, and I've still got, so I'm almost at the end of border chart 2, and then there's a very short border chart 3, and then there's a quite tall border chart 4, and then at that point I'm done with the shawl. So, you know, I don't think it's going to add much more than that onto the end, which is where I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's going to be big enough. But at the same time, I know that lace grows, so, but I don't know how much the stockinette's going to grow. So I don't know. That's kind of why I've put off working on it, I think, is because I'm kind of at this ambivalent, like, I almost wish that I started over with larger needles, but I don't think I would be happy if I did, and I certainly don't want to start over now when I'm, like, this far done with it. So I just need to finish it, and if it's not big enough, that's fine. I'll look for another shawl pattern, because every time I do it, I get better at judging how big they are and how much I'm going to like them. So I do have another shawl pattern that I want to do that's a big circular shawl, so that one will definitely be huge because it's circular. It's a big old circular shawl and it's all lace, so that one should be plenty big. This one may or may not be as big as I want, but it's certainly going to be nice and I'm going to really like it. So anyway, the color is actually showing up fairly true. It's a little bit hard with this yarn because it's definitely blue, but it has kind of like a dark tealy tone to it. So sometimes it looks way too like royal blue and sometimes it looks a little bit too green, but I think this is actually fairly accurate. So that is all I've been doing. I'm hoping that next time, which will be in 2 weeks, I'll have more knitting to show you because I won't be done doing this cross-stitching project. I've actually finished it, and if you're interested in seeing it, next week I'm going to have a video about my cross-stitching, which will include that finish. So I'm hoping that with that cross-stitching project out of the way, I'll be able to spend more time on knitting. I'm hoping that it won't be too hot to knit because when it is summer, I often end up not knitting, not doing anything because it's so hot. So fingers crossed, it's supposed to be cooling down just a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. I do kind of have some plans for August. I made some pretty specific plans for July, and that actually helped me keep up to stuff. My goals were to finish the checkbox socks, which I finished, and I think was in my previous video. I talked about finishing those. I wanted to get the Dunyazad shawl back out and make some progress on it, which I did. Not a ton of progress. It's like 4 rows, but the rows are ridiculously long and they take me like an hour to do 2 rows, so I consider that reasonably okay for doing a little progress on it. I was hoping to get both of the fronts of the Casual Friday cardigan done. I only got one done, but at least I got one done. And I was hoping to finish the current row of blocks on my Hue Shift Afghan, which I totally did. So I did pretty well, and I think having the specific goals helped. So this time around, I'm going to not only have the specific goals, but I think I'm going to tell you about them and see if that helps me keep up with them. I don't know. Sometimes that's helpful, sometimes it's not. It's worth an experiment. So I definitely want to continue on with the Hue Shift Afghan. I'm kind of setting myself a goal of only needing to do like 2 blocks on it, which is not very much, but because it is so hot and it's such a big project, I'm not sure how often I'm going to want to work on it. Plus, I figure it's better to set a small goal and exceed it than to set a big goal and not meet it. I also want to continue with the Casual Friday. I'm hoping to get the second shoulder done and connect that and knit on the body. I want to keep going on the Dunyazad shawl. I would really love to finish the border chart. So finish the current chart that I'm on. I've only got like 1 more row to go. And then do border chart 3 because it's pretty short. I think it's only like 6 rows maybe. I have to double check. So that's not too bad. And granted, those are just the lace rows. There's also the knitting back rows, but I'm thinking I can probably do that. One project I didn't bring out today because I haven't worked on it, but was in, I believe, last time's video. It's not last week's video, it's the week before last because I do these videos every other week. But one of these projects is a filet crochet project called Yin Yang Dragons, and it is what it sounds like. It's 2 dragons circling around each other, yin yang thing. I definitely want to keep working on that. I'm hoping to put on at least 4 more rows across. I suspect I can do way more than that, but I'm kind of going on the principle of small goals and exceed, and then the next month I'll set my goals based on how I did the last time. And then the last thing that I want to do is I want to bring out a sock project, because now that my previous socks, the checkbox socks, are done, I have another sock project that's like over a year old, and I got sidetracked by a different pair of socks and I just never came back to this pair. So I want to get that one done. I'm pretty sure I want to get it done and not rip it out, because I did pull it out a while back and looked at it and was like, I don't want to rip this out. I do want to finish it. I just then never finished it. So my goal is to get those out. And part of the reason I want to get those out is because if I can get 1 more project done, then I'm going to have room on my shelf and in my bags and in my schedule to cast on a new project, which I kind of really want to do. And so I suspect those socks are going to be the next thing to get finished because they're the smallest project I have. I'm partway down the cuff of 1 sock, so I'm not like super close, but I'm hoping that I can get, at the minimum, I'd like to turn the heel on that sock. But I'm hoping that I can get that sock done and possibly even the second sock significantly worked on. We'll see how that ends up going. So that's my plans for August. Next week I'm gonna have a video on cross stitch. The week after that will be my next video on this knitting stuff, and we'll see then how I've done, whether I've gotten half of those goals done or not. So we'll see how that ends up coming out. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down in the comment section below. If you are interested in my upcoming videos and would like to be notified when they come out, you can subscribe to the channel. You may want to go ahead and click the notification thing because YouTube doesn't always provide notifications, and I think it's worse when you don't watch all the videos of a channel. So if you're only watching my knitting videos and not my cross-stitch videos, you may want to have the notifications on just so that way YouTube is more likely to let you know that, hey, I put out a video. Or you can come back and check on Mondays, because I usually schedule them to release Monday around like 10:30. I film them slightly in advance so that way I'm not scrambling on Mondays. So yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me. It was not very much time, I know, but I do appreciate that, and I am looking forward to seeing you next week. I hope that in your climate it is slightly less hot and you are able to knit comfortably. I'll see you then. Bye.